Futuristic racers are often built off the appeal of going fast and defying gravity with vehicles hovering above the track. But then there's games like Acclaim's Extreme G series, which helped prove there was still some mileage left with racing on wheels, 2 of them in this case. And of the 4 games that came out during its time, Extreme G2 is my favorite. I originally played the game on the Nintendo 64, but decided to give the PC version via Steam a shot when I was in the mood for a revisit. And while it took some finagling to get it working right, it was a worthwhile endeavor, because the super fast and aggressive gameplay, combined with a bumping soundtrack, were even more enjoyable than I remembered. So with introductions out of the way, this is Extreme G2, a supersonic, combat-heavy bike racer.
Three, two, one, go.
Extreme G2 is all about racing your way to the top on sci-fi bikes that are as equipped for vehicular combat as much as they are for crazy fast speed. Controlling your bike involves the gas and brakes for managing your speed, and basic steering to lean your bike around turns. For those tighter corners, there's a slide button to quickly change your bike's direction, which is also useful whenever it gets turned around. When you need to go faster, there's a nitro button to spend one of 3 boosts per race that you can use at any time. But speed isn't always enough to win races. Sometimes it involves playing rough with weapons. Every bike is armed with 2 weapon systems. The first fires laser shots from the front of your bike, where quickly tapping the button or holding it down for some bikes will hit opponents with blasts of varying strengths. You can fire these shots as long as your green weapon meter isn't empty. The second equips the bike with weapons picked up on the track, ranging from missiles, cannons, mines, bombs, and energy bursts to really mess up anyone who gets hit. Racking up enough damage to a bike, including yours, will wear down its blue shield meter, and running empty means their bike gets destroyed, bringing the race to an early end. If either meter is running low, you can refill them at pit areas before getting back on the track. To keep up the pace, you'll have to find a balance between going fast while keeping your bike under control. The bikes aren't magnetized to the track when it starts to invert, and you don't have a lot of mid-air control when the bike's wheels leave the ground. They also have a tendency to get turned around when grinding against guardrails, costing you positions and momentum. If you can manage to keep your speed up long enough with some clean lines, and maybe a nitro boost for good measure, you can max out the accelerometer, and break the sound barrier to go even faster. It's quite the experience, and once you've pulled it off the first time, you'll be looking for as many opportunities to do it again, just because it was that cool. XG2's tracks are set on various planets for an intergalactic Grand Prix, with 12 locations in total. Each venue has 3 variations with increasing difficulty, sharing similar track layouts, but close off and branch out in certain areas to explore different parts of the environment. These include cityscapes, natural biomes, and hazardous industrial sites. The tracks are filled with plenty of sharp turns, jumps over pits, huge 90-degree drops, and loops and twists to keep you on your toes. As the race progresses between laps, more weapons show up on the track, making each lap more dangerous than the last. Some pickups also cycle between a few options whenever a bike collects one, so it's worth remembering the rotations as part of memorizing the track. Some of the branching paths between track variations offer wildly different routes, to make checking out all 3 of them worthwhile. There's also unlockable mirror versions of every track if you're looking to mix things up further. Extreme G2 features 13 playable rider and bike combos, with names befitting this game's speed freak extreme 90s attitude, like Natasha Vert in the Surge, or Crash Crisis in the Zeomax. Each bike is a 2-wheeled rocket that wouldn't look out of place alongside Tron's light cycles, with unique designs of various shapes and colors, very much like the piloted machine pairings of F-Zero X. Equally unique are each bike's performance stats, determining their acceleration, top speed, handling, shield strength, and weapon damage. Some are all-rounders, others are fast yet fragile, and prone to getting turned around at the slightest touch, and others are slower tanks that can dish out damage just as well as they can take it. Depending on how you prefer to play, with either superior speed or firepower in mind, one of the bikes should suit you well. Or you can go with one of the unlockable super bikes that excel in all 5 categories to really blow the competition away. A few fun facts about the bikes. The European PC version that the Steam release is based on retextured and renamed the Velofire bike to slightly resemble a Honda Pantheon scooter, as a curious bit of product placement, and the designs for the Venom and Wasp super bikes are actually the winners of a bike design competition. Out of the normal bikes, Velocity Kendo and the G-Spark is my go-to for most races, occasionally opting for Hatra Toxic and the Venom Superbike if I need something a bit faster. It also helps that I think both bikes are some of the coolest looking in the game. In terms of presentation, I think Extreme G2 greatly improved over the first game. The bikes and tracks are more detailed, and the sense of speed has been amped up considerably. And thanks to the PC version's higher resolution and consistent frame rate, I can appreciate both a lot more. The colored light trails coming from the bikes really help give off those light cycle vibes. Picking up weapons was always fun, just to hear the weapon system voice name all of them with her unique pronunciations.
Multiple missile.
If you love drum and bass in your racing games, then Extreme G2 has an entire album's worth of fast-paced breakbeats to race to. As an added bonus for the Steam version, you can configure the game to change the soundtrack. This not only includes the option to use the songs from the N64 version of XG2, but also from the first Extreme G, XG3, and XGRA. And through some Sybil file copying and renaming, you can mix and match songs from all 4 games to play with your personal Extreme G Legacy playlist. Like this. Funny enough, one of the best parts of Extreme G2 sound design is the lack of sound when your bike breaks the sound barrier. The music quickly cuts out, leaving you with nothing but the sounds of your bike's engines at full speed and the explosive shockwaves of a sonic boom, also combined with the camera pulling back to really sell the spectacle of the insane speed you're moving at.
Smoke exhaust.
For those playing Extreme G2 on PC, it's a strictly single-player affair. The multiplayer offerings from the N64 version are sadly not present. Still, there's quite a bit to do to keep you busy on your own. To get used to controlling your bikes and learning tracks, head to practice mode for standard single races. Despite what the name may suggest, arcade mode is actually a non-racing minigame, where you're instead shooting drones with your basic energy shots, and occasional weapon pickups to rack up the highest score possible, before your bike gets destroyed by the drones taking shots at you. Time trials pits you against the track's best record ghost, and replaces the ghost with your bike should you beat it. You're equipped with 1 nitro boost per lap to use at your discretion. The bulk of your playtime is spent in the Extreme Contest mode, a series of races across all 12 track environments, with the difficulty determining which variations you race on. There's 3 main contests to enter, each introducing you to new tracks and put you through more races than the last, starting with 4 races, then 8, and finally 12. The challenge of this mode comes from earning enough points from your finish position to qualify for the next round, and you're informed of the lowest place you can finish at to continue. If you fall short of the total points threshold in any race, it's game over in more ways than one. But there are 2 strategies to give yourself some slack when things get hard. The first is to destroy as many of the opponent bikes in a race as possible, as less competition means a higher guaranteed finish position, or even an instant first place if you're the last one standing. The second is earning bonus points on races you finish. You earn extra points for skillful actions like not using any nitros, never touching the track edges, and breaking the sound barrier at least once. The bonuses added to your total score can keep you in the contest for another round, even if you didn't finish in the qualifying position. After finishing a few races in a contest, you'll be able to save your progress up to that point, so you don't have to start over completely if you lose. Any new tracks you finish races on are unlocked for play in the other modes like practice, so if you're struggling on a certain track, you can spend as much time as you need until you've got it figured out. Winning a contest for the first time unlocks one of the super bikes and the next contest. You can only unlock super bikes using normal bikes, however, so save the supers for reruns on harder difficulties instead. Once you finish the 12-race Meltdown contest, you unlock the Duel contest, where instead of 8-player races against generic bikes, you're in one-on-one showdowns with the 12 other playable characters, with their bike stats reflecting how well they race. While some duels you can win by outracing your opponent, there are others towards the end, especially on the superbike rounds, where I found it best to just destroy their bikes instead, since keeping up was getting ridiculous. Winning all the duels unlocks the Mirror contest, as you attempt to finish first in every race just to progress, with no bonuses to help you. There are special rewards unlocked if you can manage to win the most extreme of the extreme contests on the hardest difficulty, but I had to settle for using a password to get them instead. Your final reward for clearing the Mirror contests are another set of bikes, the non-bikes, where you instead play as the actual characters who run on foot instead, and it looks as ridiculous as it sounds. For some added hilarity, using a rider in the Duel contest also pits you against the other non-bikes for weapon-based foot races. Whenever you win an extreme contest you've already beaten, you're given a cheat code to enter as your name to activate all kinds of shenanigans. You can do stuff like change the track's visuals to have either a wireframe or a Tron aesthetic, turn every bike into the time trial drones that fly around the track, or combine infinite nitros, faster bike speeds, and a turbo mode together, where the game runs at ludicrous speed as it tries to keep up. Gotta love wacky cheat codes that are only there for the fun of it. So throughout my revisit of Extreme G2, naturally it did have me thinking about how another beloved racing franchise isn't around anymore, but also thankful that this Steam version exists and remains accessible, as older games can always be new experiences for later generations of players. Because the combination of ideas that give the Extreme G games their novelty as futuristic racers is still a fun one, with potential that hopefully won't remain untapped indefinitely. At least I'll always have this version of Extreme G2 to come back to in the meantime. As always, this has been fun, and I'm already looking forward to covering another amazing racing game. So I hope you'll check out what I've got in store for next time, and thank you for watching.